So we're doing something a little bit different because I do feel like I need to make up for a stream that I shouldn't have done. And the reason why I feel like it's a stream that I shouldn't have done is because hindsight being what it is, was probably a little bit spent by the time that I started doing the stream yesterday. And because of that, I was not up to peak standard yesterday. And in my opinion, that kind of caused me to be a little bit lackluster or a little bit lacking in the stream. And again, because of that, it made it where I was not, I don't want to say performing the way I should be, but kind of sort of maybe. If that's the right way to put it, I'm not sure. But my point is that I was not where I should be yesterday. So I basically decided that I was going to record again for you guys as a way to sort of kind of make things up, make it up for what happened yesterday, what happened in the last stream, because I kind of wasn't at peak performance in the last stream. And, honestly, it made me feel bad that I th- didn't think before I did it and just decided to do it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's kind of sort of like I want to have the Dudleys win because the Dudleys just won the belts back at WrestleMania. I mean, back at the Royal Rumble. But at the same time, I don't want the Dudleys to win because I want to put the belts on somebody else. So maybe we hold off on booking that match because clearly I don't know who I want to let win. And maybe we book this one instead because it's pretty obvious who I'm going to let win, that being Goldberg. And we also can't go far without John Cena versus The Big Show, as John Cena is going to get his first taste of championship gold in WWE against The Big Show. This was put together after last week. This was put together after last week. With what happened, I'll explain all the matches before we get into them, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Randy's somehow become an 80. Well, actually, with the fact that, well, again, let's maybe do let's maybe do it piece by piece. Let's maybe do it piece by piece. The fact of the matter is, Randy Orton is where he's at as far as a top prospect because of his association with Evolution, and that doing wonders for Randy and his career. Because when you're associating with people like Ric Flair and like Triple H every single week, it points to It points to well, it points to him hitting on all cylinders and becoming a top star. But the point in that is having to eventually take the belt away from Randy Orton and let him start going up instead of staying at the peak, which is where he would be as Intercontinental Champion. And I just want to point out that the reason why I said what I said about here it is. Evolution attempted a beatdown of Rob Van Dam after an Intercontinental title defense, and Mick Foley came out and helped him, which then set up the rematch at WrestleMania and Foley against Batista. Also, we have a dream match set for tonight. The Rock versus Roddy Piper. And Rocky is ready for Piper. See, part of me was gonna go with the route. Part of me was gonna go the route of Ric Flair being involved. Honestly, part of me was gonna go the route of having Ric Flair be involved in the match, side with Vince McMahon to allow Ric Flair to be involved. But I decided to go the route of Piper because, much like involving Ric Flair, involving Piper is still forming a dream match, and then that still actually allows me to have Flair against The Rock if I wanted to have Flair against The Rock at SummerSlam. But this is also going to set up the other reason why I did Flair versus, Mick Foley versus Batista is because I wanted to set up Foley versus Flair. That's the other reason. $77,000 people for WrestleMania 20. 77,000 people. That is freaking insane. That is freaking insane. Um, Paul Heyman argue over who has the better portion of Mania and the draft tomorrow. The WWE draft will be set for tomorrow, and also not just will the draft be set for tomorrow. I am actually going to try and remember to book the SmackDown announcers in the SmackDown matches and the Raw announcers in the Raw matches. But at the same time, um, but at the same time, what was I gonna say? At the same time, I lost my train of thought, to be honest with you. I lost my train of thought. Oh, at the same time, I'm trying to think ahead to what's going to happen at the next pay per view because one of the things I'm going to look back at in a second is something that happened on SmackDown that's going to set things aside. I don't know how long we can let this go, so I got to look. Okay. Um, I'm probably going to pencil another match in between, unless I want to do 3 segments between. There's going to also be a pre-show, of course. There is also going to be a pre-show, of course. See, I don't like doing the I don't like doing the what's it called segments, like the special entrance segments, because I feel like those are a waste of time. To be honest, I don't know why. I just feel like those segments are a waste of time, and I think that it would be better to not use those segments, even though there are benefits to those segments. I just think that using those segments are a waste of time. I also haven't decided yet if I want to bring Paul Bearer back full time, but having him back for WrestleMania, even if it is a one-shot deal, having him back for WrestleMania is completely worth it. Vince is to silence his son, and Piper. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Or that's one of the things I was going to say. That one of the reasons why I wanted to set this up is because then that opens the door for Foley versus Flair after WrestleMania at Backlash and events like that. And that would, again, open the door for things like and that would again open the door for things like Flair against The Rock at WrestleMania. I mean, at SummerSlam. Because for those who may not be aware, WrestleMania, I mean, during this time of the first brand split, that basically, much like they attempted to do in the second brand split right off the bat, which was the idea of split pay per views, that back then, back during this time now, why wasn't Triple H and Shawn Michaels booked for this event? Because I didn't know that I was going with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, wasn't it? Yeah. Um, that basically they tried to have it where they tried to have it where um they tried to have it where you know Raw would get one pay per view, SmackDown would get another. So SmackDown's next pay per view after WrestleMania is not until May, the beginning of May, which is Judgment Day. So that means it gave stuff on SmackDown a little bit more time to simmer, and the same with Raw. It gave stuff on Raw a little bit more time to simmer in between the pay per views because you weren't getting, like so much. uh, you didn't have the expectation that after WrestleMania you were going to see this match or that match or this match or that. You know what I mean? And it's like it gave everybody the opportunity, everything the opportunity to simmer a little bit more. Even though you would say, "Oh well, it didn't give the stuff on Raw time to simmer." Yeah, well, and the same was with SmackDown after because SmackDown, what August? No, Raw was right after WrestleMania. Raw was after SummerSlam, which is weird, but it worked. That's all I'm saying. It worked. They found a way to make it work. And because they found a way to make it work, it allowed breathing room for the feuds and breathing room for everything in between. It gave more time for development and more time for fan investment because it allowed the fans to believe in what they were seeing. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion, though. Get revenge on Randy Orton by capturing the championship. Foley wishes. Yes, the underlying thing is still Mick Foley versus Randy Orton. Yes. The underlying thing is still going to be Mick Foley versus Randy Orton. 100%. The underlying thing is still going to be Mick Foley versus Randy Orton. Yes. But at the same time, at the same time, that doesn't mean I have to give it to him at WrestleMania. Because also ask the question, when was the last time you saw Foley win at WrestleMania? And honestly, this would, in my opinion, open the door for Batista. This would open the door for Batista to have something to prove next year at WrestleMania because of what happened this year. That tonight will end his rivalry with Shawn Michaels once and for all. I think I'm not going to sit here and say that the stream did not go off the way it did because I was trying to downplay somebody's involvement in the company and I didn't want to put the focus or show anything positive about him. But that shouldn't have been the case because of the time period I'm playing. It was expected that he'd be here. But speaking of time period that I'm playing, Brock Lesnar and Goldberg are both ready to leave after WrestleMania. Because Brock is officially off to New Japan and Goldberg we couldn't agree on terms because Goldberg wanted creative control and I refused to give him creative control. So Goldberg's gone. Could Goldberg come back? Yes. Will Brock Brock's under contract, going to be under contract for at least the next 3 years in New Japan. So Brock is out. Goldberg is not necessarily. But the fact of the matter is, WrestleMania is the last time that they will be in action tonight, and that's why Kurt Angle will fight Brock Lesnar tonight. And Brock has made the demand that if he does not defeat Kurt Angle tonight and gets some measure of revenge against the guy who cost him the world title at No Way Out, then he will leave WWE if he can't beat Kurt Angle tonight in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Which I think, much like WrestleMania 19, we will see Brock versus Kurt near the top of the card, if not at the top of the card, because I honestly don't know what else would be at the top of the card. Because this is the tough part now. I have Triple H versus Shawn Michaels for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I have Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and somewhere in between, and Eddie Guerrero versus Benoit for the WWE Championship. So, and somewhere in between is the Dudley Boys defending the tag team titles. So I think we're going to go this way. I think we're going to go this way. We're going to keep the belt on Eddie. We also have to book the pre-show because the pre-show, there are matches on the actual show that are missing, or talent on the actual show that are missing. You know, there are talent on the actual show that are missing. And we also only have 300 minutes, so we might actually book the entire thing. We might actually book the entire length of time that we have left for WrestleMania. I figured it started with a street fight, so at WrestleMania, it will end with a street fight. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels one last time in a street fight. HBK has also not lost yet, which is a little nutty cuckoo crazy, to be honest with you. Okay, maybe I don't know how. I mean, how about that? I don't know how you can say that a street fight is inappropriate for our fan base, but apparently it is inappropriate for the American fan base or the WWE fan base at this time, which is kind of crazy in my opinion, but still. And if you want to know the reason why the card is set up the way it is because just like in real life, I want to give them a break. I want to give them a break somewhere in between. Letting him know he's proud of him. See, recently Eddie and Chavo have been feuding, much like they did in real life at this time. But um, Chavo, the turn hasn't happened yet. Is basically the best way to put it. Wait, no, that's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Sean needs to take the loss, and this also opens up the idea or the possibility of, much like with Flair having a face off with Foley earlier, it opens the idea of Flair versus HBK at Backlash because Flair is that jealous that he is not featured in a match at WrestleMania, that he's now out to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is still the Nature Boy. You know, which it's not where you use the top of the card to plan out the next pay per view. It's where you use the second half of the card to plan out the bottom half of the card to at least have an idea of where you're going. And it's also just planting seeds to know the direction that you want to go after WrestleMania because because that's kind of the point. It's like you want to know where you're going after WrestleMania or have an idea of where you're going after the biggest pay-per-view of the year, and that's what some of the segments on the show are supposed to dichotomize. Like not every feud is supposed to end at WrestleMania because then you will have to start from completely square one after the fact. So why would you do that? Because that means you basically did not use WrestleMania to start anything up or a pay per view to start anything up. No pay per view should end every feud. Some feuds are supposed to go after the pay per view, some feuds are supposed to end at the pay per view. It's just the best way to do it. Ray mentions he knows who has been sending. See, recently Tori Wilson has been getting secret admirer notices. And basically, now Ray is telling her, I know who's been sending you the notices. I know who's been sending you not notices. I know who's been sending you the letters, the secret admirer letters. And that, again, sets up something that happened on SmackDown. Because also, the one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that after WrestleMania, the draft is going to be at the forefront because right after WrestleMania, it is the WWE draft. Putting his career on the line tonight. Just imagine Brock Lesnar putting his WWE career on the line at the biggest stage of them all. That's why Brock and Kurt are the main event. It's because if there's anybody that deserves to be the main event, It's the idea that Brock Lesnar may not be here tomorrow night. He may not be here because of the fact that he is putting everything on the line at WrestleMania. World title or not, he's putting everything on the line at WrestleMania. Jimmy Corderas is referring to. Oh no. So now we got to formulate somewhat of a a pre-show because of the fact that we don't have one right now. Lita, Jacqueline, Jazz. This is also the reason why I put the world title on the line. I mean the cruiserweight title on the line, I should say. Not at WrestleMania because I did basically that type of match at a different show. I mean, at the Royal Rumble, so I didn't need to do it at WrestleMania. But also, you got the question now of people like Chris Jericho, Christian. There are people that aren't featured that some might be surprised by them not being featured at WrestleMania. Hey, Maven's a recognizable talent. Maven is a recognizable talent. Yippee. I may actually have to add. And Matt Striker's not even supposed to be here. Matt Striker's supposed. I should have sent him down. Okay, so should be able to go 10 and 10, right? Flair's booked. We're gonna go 15 and 15. We're gonna go 15 and 15. What is SmackDown? I'm such a bigger roster. Dawn Marie approaches the Bashams and is sent away by Cornette. Because before this, the Bashams were Dawn Marie tried to recruit the Bashams, but it didn't pan out because it didn't pan out because well, Dawn Marie tried to get the Bashams away from Shaniqua, and then in the process of that, Cornette ended up taking the Bashams away from Shaniqua. Cornette ended up taking the Bashams away from both people. And then pull him in favor of Ron Simmons. I, of course, chose Jimmy because I didn't think that there was anybody better to feud against the Rock and Roll Express and help the Bashams against the Rock and Roll Express than Jim Cornette. Because if there's anybody that knows the Rock and Roll Express, it is their long-term rival or long-time rival, Mr. Jimmy Cornette. So there's that. So there's that. Tori's booked, Flair's booked, Dawn's booked, the Rock and Roller booked. There's just so many freaking people left. There's just so many freaking people left that I don't know if I need to work them in or not. Other because I don't know if they're gonna get pissed off. Because I mean, the amount of people. I just want to point out the amount of freaking people that are left. A majority of them are from SmackDown. A majority of them are from SmackDown, and it's crazy to me how many freaking people are on SmackDown. It's almost like the numbers are so freaking uneven. So what I think I'm gonna do is we throw together another battle royal, and then the winner of the one battle royal will face the winner of the other battle royal. And we still have space in the battle royal. We still have space in a battle royal. Casey James was the last one, wasn't he? Yeah. Nunzio, Orlando, Sakota, Shannon Moore, Sean Spears, Zach Allen. And then the winner of the one battle royal will face the winner of the other battle royal. Wait, I ran out of time on the pre-show, didn't I? Yeah, I ran out of time on the pre-show. So I think I need to scrap this match. Yeah, I don't have enough time for another match, but I have enough time for another segment. Confronted by and I just want to try one last thing because I should be able to do a 7-way. Because somehow I forgot Victoria in this. That's unfortunate. I can't do a 7-way because it takes up too much time. So I'll put the kibosh on that, switch Mitch Stacky out for Victoria, and we'll keep the show the way it is and go like that. Lita retains the women's championship, and this sets up Lita versus Trish. The inevitability of that is alarming. Lita versus Trish. Booker T wins the pre-show battle royal with half the roster involved. Cornette and the Bashams set up on the pre-show. as Cornette and the Bashams officially become a tag team. The pre-show brand supremacy match between between Raw and SmackDown with Mark Henry and the Ultimo Dragon. Mark Henry beats the Ultimo Dragon. The Bashams attack Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson to further that feud between the Bashams and Rock and Roll. This other one that I, did to occupy Tajiri and Perry Saturn on the pre-show. And now we're actually on the actual card of WrestleMania. Mark Jindrak against Goldberg, and Goldberg gets the victory in the first match on WrestleMania. Randy Orton and the Evolution. John Cena gets his first taste of championship gold in WWE as the new United States Heavyweight Champion. And Cena celebrates in the ring. I tried my best. The one thing I tried to do is I tried my best to um, make sure everybody was accounted for. And though it was impossible to make sure everybody was accounted for, I tried my best to make sure everybody was accounted for. The Rock is Shane McMahon's representative in his match tonight against his father. Mick Foley beats the big man via countout, and this sets up the possibility between Mick Foley and Ric Flair of a feud between Mick Foley and Ric Flair, but that changes later tonight, as you guys will see. Paul and Bischoff are featured as they talk about the better portion of Mania and the draft tomorrow, starting on Raw. Taker has his first match back since Survivor Series, and that, my friend, gives me a little bit of something to be excited about because The Undertaker got an 100. I don't know if he got an 100 because of the great chemistry he has with Kane, but either way, it gives me something to be excited about because Taker will be back on SmackDown, or back full time, I should say, after WrestleMania. Piper, in his first match back in WWE since last year, Piper and The Rock did. I can't complain. They did pretty well against each other as The Rock beats Piper in what, in my opinion, would be a dream match between Roddy Piper and Ric Flair. I mean, Roddy Piper and The Rock in what would be a dream match, in my opinion. The one thing I'm surprised I never did or didn't do enough was Roddy Piper and The Rock on in a segment together, going back and forth. Stephanie congratulates Cena as a way to get Steph on the show because Shane and Vince were easily accounted for, but you got to get Steph on the show as well. And another match I was looking forward to: Rey Mysterio versus Jushin Thunder Liger, as Liger had an open contract with New Japan. So I took this opportunity to bring Jushin Liger into the WWE and have the match that has only happened a handful of times over the years: Jushin Liger against Rey Mysterio. Rob Van Dam versus Mick Foley. I do believe RVD was the one who lost the Intercontinental title to Randy Orton last year. So the fact that it's coming full circle is a bit of irony, and unexpected irony, I should say, with Rob Van Dam finally being the one who defeats Randy Orton for the Intercontinental Championship. And this allows Rob Van Dam to be here and Randy Orton to rise up a little bit and move to the next step, because the next step will be his match against Mick Foley. Kurt Angle sets up his match against Brock Lesnar, basically saying he's ready for Brock to leave if Brock wants to leave because he's not beating Kurt Angle tonight. Chavo versus Eddie. Chavo and Eddie. Chavo finally shows some relents a little bit with his stubbornness for his uncle and gives his uncle a fair shake. Eddie Guerrero versus Benoit. Both guys get an 100 and we're only stuck with an 80. I wonder what. It's probably because of the fact that they're, yeah, yeah. We got penalized enough because of this, lack of associated storyline. Crowd starting to get burned out, and odd face heel combination. I should have factored in more. I should have factored in more stuff to allow the crowd to calm down a little bit, and not just rise. You know what I mean? Like I should have factored in, I should have spaced out the big matches a little bit more at the back half of the show, and not had. I thought Triple H versus Shawn Michaels was the main event. Huh. I guess maybe I didn't want a heel to win and win the main event of WrestleMania. But either way, a solid end to what has been a historic rivalry between Shawn and Triple H. But that also opens the door, if you guys didn't notice, with Ric Flair being the reason why Shawn Michaels lost the title and lost his opportunity. So that opens the door again with Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels, much like it did with Ric Flair and Mick Foley. So there's options there for Ric Flair. But now the question is, what happens for Triple H after WrestleMania with the World's Championship, especially considering the fact that Goldberg is done with the company, but now we move to a simpler time as Rey Mysterio tells Tori Wilson that he knows who's been sending her the love letters and who is his secret admirer, or who is her secret admirer. Brock is warned by Paul, asking him, "Do you understand what you're doing?" And Brock says, "Absolutely." But now we have the finale of what has been one of the greatest. Two, we see the end of two of the greatest feuds in the last 2 years. Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar and Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, as Kurt Angle defeats Brock Lesnar in a 2 out of 3 falls match. And this means that Brock Lesnar is officially done with WWE, but a solid event for WrestleMania. And I still do believe that I should have spaced out the card a little bit, but we learned our lesson here. As with all these big matches, maybe Eddie versus Benoit should have been further down and switched with Rey Mysterio and Jushin Liger or something like that. Like the matches should have been spaced out a little bit better to allow the top half of the card to breathe a little bit. And maybe it should have been like the world title match here, like the tag team title match here and the world title match here. But again, we learned our lesson and it spaced out a little bit more. But the fact of the matter is, that has been what was an incredible WrestleMania. And I do appreciate you sticking with me because because that is the end of this WrestleMania and one of the longest inside TEW videos I've done, because you don't always book a 4-hour event. But until next time, I hope, well, before we go, do not forget, if you are enjoying this content, to feel free and let me know that, because any and all interactions with these videos are very much appreciated and do help with the algorithm. So feel free to leave a like, drop a comment, or subscribe, or do all three if you really want to help us with the content. And with the algorithm. And I just want to say again, thank you for 200, almost 280 subs. It is insane how far we've come in such a short time. I very much appreciate that. And I just want to say again, I apologize for the lackluster last stream, or for the lackluster stream a couple of days ago. And I hope to give you guys a better stream next time, and that I will learn from that lesson to not stream when I'm running on empty. Either way, though, I do appreciate it once again. And do not forget before you go to ding that notification bell to always know when a new video is up on the channel. And I will see you all in the next one.